Welcome back to Coffee and Cartridges. Hope you're having a great day. Today I just want to talk to you about my personal favorite rifle cartridges. I got this new mug from the NRA Whittington Center in New Mexico, and I'm drinking some Dunkin' Donuts hazelnut flavored coffee, black. So I put out a list quite a while back with my top 10 favorite cartridges on it. I wanted to kind of update it, but I also wanted to actually make two lists, because one list is going to be based on nostalgia and experience, so guns I've actually shot or been around. And the other list is just based on what I believe the cartridge potential is. And, you know, on paper, how good that it looks. And I'll put these on the screen. Okay, so you can see my list on the screen. This is, once again, cartridges that I have experience with and nostalgia. I did own a 7 mag for a while. I wish I could say I put a lot of time into it, but I did shoot it and I did like it. And I am a fan, despite, you know, I never really talk about it on the channel. So let me just throw this out at the beginning. I'm sure if you've watched my channel for very long, then you already know this, but I'm not a big fan of the belt on a cartridge. Having said that, I'm not naive to think that it's harming it. I don't think there's anything wrong with the belt. It's just a little nitpick that I can't get out of my mind. I don't want the belt there. If it served a function, I could understand it, like the head spacing on the 375 H&H. When I was a kid, we always thought there was so much power in the magnums that it needed that belt, which now we know that's not true. So it just bothers me, and that's an unbelievably big nitpick, and I understand that. A 7 mag is awesome. All the Weatherby cartridges are awesome, and the belt does not harm them at all. I mean, you look at 300 Weatherby, 7 mag, 300 mag. These are some of the most popular cartridges in the world, and for a good reason, because they're awesome. So I know there's no issues with the belt. But for some reason, I can't get it out of my mind that belt is on there. And it bothers me a little bit. So I just don't prefer belted cartridges unless the belt serves a function. And I know that's stupid, but I'm just being honest. Someone said, hey, I've got a 7 mag, I'll sell it to you for really cheap. I would buy it in a heartbeat because it's a phenomenal cartridge. Same with 300 Weatherby. But they're just not my personal cup of tea, or not my personal cup of coffee. But number 10, 7 mag. Number 9, 22 Hornet. I had a 22 Hornet and I loved it. It's old school. I mean, it's not efficient. It's not a modern design. It's old. It looks old. Crazy long neck. Crazy weird, you know, not sharp shoulder. Blast to shoot, man. Just fun to shoot. Really enjoyed it. Killed a lot of groundhogs with it. Killed some armadillos with it. That's one that I want to get back, but I'm not sure if I will. Because now I have a 204 Ruger, which I like better, which is number 8 on the list. 204 Ruger is totally different, though, than the 22 Hornet. 22 Hornet is classic. It's just got that, you know, refinement of an old classic cartridge. 204 Ruger's modern. It's blazing fast, much louder on the report. I mean, it's just totally different, but I have become a big fan of the 204 Ruger here recently in the last 5 to 10 years. 284 Winchester, I've never personally owned it, but I've shot it. I've been around it all my life because of my uncle. I've actually had 2 uncles that shot it quite a bit, and I'm a big fan of the 284. Love it. Wish it would come back. If it came back, it would give a lot of cartridges on the top of my next list a run for their money. 22 250. If you look at my old list, this has been bumped back one place, and it's not to say that I like it any less than I used to, but the 270 short mag is just becoming more and more my favorite. But the 22 250 is phenomenal. It's always been my favorite 22 centerfire cartridge. And I plan on doing a whole lot of load development when I get my gun back. So I love 22 250. It's a cool cartridge. But it's been bumped back one place because I'm falling in love with the 270 short mag. I've wanted a 270 short mag for many years. Never could, you know, get it all lined out where I could I had the money at the right time and I could find the gun. 6.8 Western came out and I really liked that too, and I still do. And I really would want either one. So if I would have found a 6.8 Western, I probably would have bought it. But I just liked both of them. Ended up finding on Bud's Gun Shop a 270 short mag for a pretty good price in that Sporter XPR. And man, I like it. Just so far, it's been really fun to load for, really fun to shoot. And it kicks less than I thought it was going to kick. So huge fan of the 270 short mag. And then the 308. 308's the first cartridge I ever killed a deer with. It's the second cartridge I ever shot. The first cartridge I ever shot was a 300 Savage. That particular gun I could not hit the broadside of a barn with. Used a 308 in a Mauser and had a peep sight, and I killed my first 2 deer with that. Since then, I've got my own Mauser that I've showed on the channel before, and I've killed a few deer with that, and I've let people borrow it. I let my nephew borrow it last year. He killed a deer with it. I let my cousin borrow it a few years ago. He killed a couple deer with it. It's just a deer slaying machine. I love the 308. 243 5 years ago would not even been on this list. I cared nothing for it, but man, it's become a cool cartridge for me. The last 3 deer I've killed, I think I shot a 243. Probably gonna not shoot it for the next few years. I'm gonna try some other stuff, but I love it. It's just a cool dual purpose cartridge. Easy to shoot long range, easy to do whatever you want with it. It's just awesome. And I did some load development on it kind of before I started my channel, just right before I did. But man, I'm a big fan. Love the 243. And then of course the 30-06. Growing up as a kid, hearing my uncles talk about cartridges, the one that always jumped out to me that I thought was the best was the 30-06. Got a little bit older, did kind of a really deep comparison on 30-06 and 270, so this has been, you know, 15, 20 years ago, but I've tried to decide what cartridge I wanted to go with. This is a long time ago, before I really had the knowledge that I have today about ballistic coefficients or anything. I didn't really understand much. I just knew velocity and energy. And I looked at a lot of old reloading manuals, and one in particular was a Sierra manual that had all the drop charts in the back of the manual, which I thought was really cool. And I studied that thing and ended up getting down to, I felt personally like the 270 and the 30-06 were like the best two. They just seemed like, man, it's hard to beat these two. In particular, the 130 270 and the 180 30-06. Ended up, of those two, thinking the 30-06 was the best. And I've never looked back. I've always liked it. Killed deer with it. Just a phenomenal round. And I like it more now than I've ever liked it. I love the 30-06. And so I'm not a huge fan of the 270, but I think it's one of the best rounds ever developed, and I really admire it as a cartridge. So no ill will toward the 270, but I love the 30-06. And of course, number one, the 6.5 284, my personal favorite cartridge of all time. I liked it in theory at one time. It would have been on my next list, the paper, you know, just on paper it looked good. Its potential looked good, but then I actually had one built, and I've been a big fan of it, killed a deer with it. Done some load development. I wish I could say I've done a ton, but I haven't, but I'm going to. But everything I've loaded has been very accurate and just really a cool cartridge. I love every bit of it. It's my number one by quite a bit. Well, number 1 and 2 are way ahead of the pack. Now, my next list, I'll put it up here on the screen. This is cartridge potential on paper. So just not personal experience, just by looking at reloading manuals, by, you know, looking at the dimensions of the cartridge, looking at how much powder it can hold, looking at people's experience that they've posted online. Just here's my pick. Now, you'll notice something about this list. The 10 on here are not the same 10 as before, because there could be a lot of overlap. Like, I could put the 6.5 284 on both lists. I could put the 30-06 on both lists. I could put a lot of these on both lists. That's not really interesting. So it's not to say that none of my personal favorite cartridges deserve to be on this list. They do, but I don't want the overlap. So this is, my top 10 cartridges based on the cartridge potential that I see on paper, and it can't be on the other list. Number 10, the 338 Weatherby Weatherby RPM. I really like the sound of that. When I heard about the 6.5 Weatherby RPM, I thought that's cool. They took the 284 case, they lengthened it, and they, necked it down. They basically took the 6.5 284 and just lengthened it. More powder. That was cool. But then there's so many cartridges like that. I could name them, but there's many 6.5 cartridges that can hold about that same amount of powder and do that pretty much same job. So it was cool. But then when the 338 came out, I thought, yeah, that's better, because you have all that extra powder. Instead of just making the 6.5 go faster, I like the sound of getting a bigger bullet to go around that same speed. So just on paper, I'm a big fan of the 338 Weatherby RPM. It doesn't have the belt like the Win Mag. So if I were to get a 338 caliber, I'd be tempted to go with that. But the problem I always have with the Weatherby is they're just so obscure. There's so few rifles developed. There's so few rifles chambered in that round. It's just hard to get. The bullets are expensive. I usually get priced out of that particular game. But if someone said, hey, I got a Weatherby Vanguard at a 338 RPM, are you interested? I would be interested for sure. Number 9, the 300 PRC. When I first heard about this, I just did not care. I thought, unless you're shooting like 240 grain 30 caliber bullet, I don't see the point. But the more I've watched it unfold, the more I've read about it, that's a dang good 30 caliber Magnum. It really is. So I've become more and more of a fan of it, but it's only at number 9. Number 8 is a 7mm PRC, and of course this cartridge is not even out. Once it comes out and we get to learn more about it and see its real world, potential and experience, it could go up or down. But just based on what we see coming out, it seems pretty cool. So I've got it at number 7. Number 8. Number 7 is the 6.8 Western. It's basically the same thing as a 270 short mag. It's just a little bit shorter, therefore it can hold a little bit less powder, but it's designed for long range accuracy. So it's gonna have a faster twist rate in the barrel, and it's just designed for the heavier bullets. I see good and bad to it. The good is you can shoot the heavier bullets, which is cool. The bad is, do I really want to shoot heavier bullets in a 270 caliber? I don't know that I do. You're pretty much limited to like a 150 grain bullet in a 270 caliber cartridge. And that's always been kind of a downside of the 270, because the 7mm and the 30 caliber, you can get so much heavier bullets so much easier. And I've always wanted the 6.8 Western. It's one of them things I've always dreamed about. I've always wanted it. And now that it's here, I don't know that I really ever wanted it. Does that make sense? Because 150 grain bullet is awesome out of a 270. And if that was my only cartridge, like if you said, okay, you can only have one rifle cartridge, do you want a 270 short mag or a 6.8 Western? Well, I'd pick the 6.8 Western because it's more versatile, has more of a range, and I could get heavier bullets. But if you've already got other cartridges, if you've already got 30 calibers or 7mm, you don't really need to get the heavy per caliber bullet in a 270. So having said that, it's still cool. I like it, but I kind of like having that little bit of extra case capacity that the 270 short mag has. But the 6.8 Western is dang cool, and I like it. Number 6 is a 22 250 Ackley Improved. Now this is the only cartridge on here that's not officially out. It would have to be a Wildcat or a custom gun. But man, it's awesome. when I look at the 22-250, it's always been my favorite 22 caliber. The only downside is that original 250-3000 Savage case from which it's based just has so much taper on it. And to many people, that doesn't mean anything. But it's like the belt. I can't get past how much taper it has. It's stupid, I know. If you're putting the comments in, that's stupid, I agree with you, it is stupid. That's just me, I'm just being honest. But all cartridges, except for the Ackley Improved, have a little taper. Some more than other ones, but some have a lot of taper. And when I see a cartridge with a lot of taper, it just looks odd to me. So I would love a 22-250 Ackley Improved. On paper, oh my gosh, man, you're talking easily over 4,000 feet per second. You can do that with a standard 22-250, depending on the weight bullet you get. But man, you could absolutely have a Screaming Eagle just send that missile out there. So man, it would be a cool cartridge to have. 6mm Creedmoor, not the 6.5, but the 6mm. I don't hate any of the Creedmoors. I think they're pretty good, but I love the 6mm Creedmoor. It's very similar to a 243, but just a little bit more efficient case. And then of course it has that faster twist rate, so you could shoot 110, 115 grain bullets. And if you're going to shoot long range, like if you told me today to start competition shooting and to build a rifle for competition shooting, and I know there's a lot of them. There's the 6BR, there's the 6-Dasher, and many other ones in other calibers. But I like the 6mm for long range target shooting, and I would probably pick the 6mm Creedmoor. It'd also still be a really cool cartridge for deer, maybe a little better than the 243 for deer because of those, you can get the heavier bullets. It's a wash on as far as it being a coyote round. A 243 is probably just better for that, but either one would work equally, so really cool cartridge. Number 4, 300 WSM. This is a cartridge I just cared nothing about until I started my YouTube channel. Actually, all 4 of the top 4 I cared nothing about until I started my YouTube channel and started making videos about cartridges and thinking about them more than I would have normally and doing more research. And I realized, man, that 300 WSM is awesome. And I personally like it on paper much better than the 300 Win Mag. And I know that's gonna stir up some controversy there. No problems with the 300 Win Mag. It's a great cartridge. Extremely popular, one of the best hunting cartridges in the world. But man, I like the 300 Short Mag. It's just really cool that you're basically duplicating the performance of the Win Mag with such a smaller case and with a little bit less powder. It's just really cool design. And I've said this before, but if I was gonna hunt the whole world with one cartridge and I needed to hunt bigger game as well, excluding dangerous game, I think I'd go with the 300 Short Mag. Because you're getting that power, but you're also getting it in a more compact, short design, be better in a little bit lighter weight rifle to carry and pack, so big fan. Number 3, 6.5 PRC. Now this is one I've not talked about much because I'm such a fan of the 6.5 284. And that's not gonna change. I love the 6.5 284. But if you were to say, which one should I go with? I'd have to say go with the 6.5 PRC, just because it's more popular, because it's going to be easier to find rifles for it, to find ammo for it, to find components for it, to find dies for it. It's just more common. And when you compare the two, they're pretty well the same, except you have a little bit more potential in velocity out of the PRC because it has a little bit more case capacity. There's just no downside to it. I mean, I really like the 6.5 284, as you know, so how would I not like the 6.5 PRC? It's just the same thing, basically, with a little bit more velocity. And so everything my 6.5 284 can do, I would say the 6.5 PRC can do. If you don't like the 6.5 284 because of its short barrel life, the PRC is going to have probably a little bit shorter barrel life. you consider the 284 a little overbore, which it is, well then the PRC is going to be even more overbore. So, but if the 6.5 284 didn't exist, man, I'd be all over the 6.5 PRC. It really is an awesome, awesome cartridge. Number 3 on my list. And then the last two, of course, should be no surprise. Started my channel trying to figure out the best all-around cartridge if you could only have one to shoot long range and to hunt, and just an efficient cartridge. And I picked a 7mm Odd 8, and I don't feel bad about that choice at all. I think I made the right choice. Just an unbelievable, all-around, awesome cartridge. It's probably not the best at any one thing, but it's just good at everything it does, and it would be hard to beat. And you know, when I made that video, or that series of videos, when I first started my channel, really nobody was talking about the 7mm Odd 8, or 08. I know I'm saying that wrong, but really nobody was talking about it. And since then, it's become, I think, more popular. Like, more people have discovered the same thing I discovered, how well balanced it is and how cool of a cartridge it is. It's not to say that people didn't know that before, they did. For 20, 30 years, it's been popular and it's had a cult following. And it did have a rise to fame in the 80s and 90s, and then it kind of died off, but it's coming back now, I think. And it's just a darn good cartridge. So it's cool to see the accolades that it's getting, you know. Made that series, kind of thinking that when people watched it, they would scold me for picking that cartridge, but they haven't. In fact, many people said, oh yeah, I agree. I've been shooting that for years and I love it. And, you know, and then since then, like I said, many YouTubers have come out and talked about how much they love it as well. So it's really cool just to see that. Number 1, 280 Ackley Improved. I'll just tell you, I've never shot the round. I do know people that have one. Never shot it. It's only on paper that I'm telling you it's my favorite. But man, does it seem cool. You take a 30-06 case, you neck it down to the very versatile 7mm, which is a 280 Remington, and then you Ackley improve it and give it a little bit more horsepower. Whew. I called it the perfect rifle cartridge. And that was another video I made. When I said that, I thought, ooh, I'm gonna get some hate on that one. They're gonna say, 280 Ackley Improved, perfect rifle cartridge. But since then, you know, it's kind of started to get more popular too. I know on Backfire, they had that, it was like a tournament bracket, and that thing got down to the very end, and it was between it and the 7mm Magnum, and they basically tied, and they had to have a runoff. So, I mean, it's very popular. I mean, people voted for that thing. So it's cool to me that choices I made with the 7mm 08 and the 280 Ackley Improved kind of was validated. It's like, I made those choices and I felt good about the choices, but I thought people would, you know, say, oh my gosh, that's terrible. But in reality, everyone feels the same. Like, they realize how cool those cartridges are. So it's my favorite of the cartridges I have no experience with, and I do want to. And that leads me to my last little topic here is, you know, I've had several people ask me, so how is your Ruger American shooting and in your 7mm 08? And I never did buy the gun. So let me just tell you, I planned multiple times to buy that gun. And when I had the money to buy it, I couldn't find it. I mean, anywhere in the world. No online place, nothing. And then when I did see it, I didn't have the money. And then since then, I bought 2 guns. I bought my CZ 22 and I bought my 270 short mag. Both times they just weren't available. Or I just, you know, got a good deal on the other gun, whatever the case. I'm not giving up on that. I still want to get a Ruger American in a 7mm 08. That's still a goal of mine. And then if you saw my little poll that I did, been shooting my 30-06, and I think it's kind of burned out. When you measure it, when you get the bullet up against the jam and you measure it, it's really long. So I think that throat's about burned out. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I might rebarrel that. On the poll, the winner of that poll was the 280 Ackley Improved. So I think it'd be a really cool option to go with. So I'm not giving up. I still want a 7mm 08 in Ruger American, and I still want a 280 Ackley Improved in something. But those are my favorite cartridges. So if I didn't mention your favorite cartridge, or you don't see it on the list, it doesn't mean I don't like them. I told you I'm a little nitpicky about belts and about extreme taper, but that doesn't mean I don't like the cartridges. I think the Weatherby cartridges are phenomenal. They're just not my cup of tea, really. I think your 300 mag and your 7 mag and your 270 and some of those that I didn't really talk about are great cartridges, like some of the best in the world. They're just not my personal favorite. They just don't tickle my fancy. They just don't do something for me that makes me want them. When I think of a 270, I love the 270 short mag. When I think of a 7mm, I love the 08 and I love the Ackley Improved. That's just what I like. There's not really a cartridge out there that I can say I hate that cartridge or I despise it. I like all cartridges. So this is just my list. I am no expert and I'm not saying these are the best. These are what I consider to be my favorites. That's all it is. I would love it, absolutely love it, if you guys would, in the comments, would leave your top 10. You can do just top 10, just generally speaking, or you could do what I did and on paper versus what you have experience with. You could just do it however you want to do it, but I would love to know what you guys think is your favorites. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of 270 Winchester, which is fine. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of 7 mag. I don't care what I get. I'd love to see your guys' favorite cartridges of all time. I mean, isn't this fun? That's all. What this is fun. Drinking coffee, talking about cartridges. It's fun. We're not arguing about cartridges. That's a big difference. We're just talking about them, enjoying them. So I would absolutely love to read the comments of your top 10 of your favorites. So hopefully you can do that. Hopefully you found this interesting. Hope you have a wonderful day. And until next time, take care.